In this video, I am joined by the family man. We're talking about the Wondrous Journeys Disney 100th Anniversary Fireworks Show. New details were released today. We're going to break those down. We're also going to talk about maybe sometimes refurbing old existing attractions is even better than getting new attractions. We'll explain. We'll discuss that up next on OG 55.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
to all who come to this happy place,
welcome to Orange Grove 55.
Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG 55. Like I said at the start, we are talking Wondrous Journeys, the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company fireworks show coming to Disneyland very, very soon. We're also going to talk about refurbs of existing attractions. We have a lot to discuss today. Before we dive in, I want to introduce my brother, my collaborator, host of the Citrus Corner show here on the channel, Mr. Family Man. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me, and great topics. Can't wait to get into the discussion with you. But yeah, glad to be back on the channel. And as OG had pointed out, I also host Citrus Corner, and our brother, who is not here at the moment, Mr. Vash Sky, host of Freshly Squeezed, Dr. Dre, producer Dre, all the good stuff. He's in our thoughts, but you know, he's here with us all the time. So, and like no matter what, like he's always here because he's a big part of the channel. So
absolutely. You know. It actually, it's kind of funny when I was doing the intro that everyone's very familiar with that we just played a second ago. It was funny, like all the clips, every clip had Dre in it. Like I can't find a video. It's really rare that Dre.
It's very rare. It's very rare. So even when he's not here, he's here.
He's here. Exactly. No, we love Dre. He is family. He's the producer. He is the man. He is the DA.
He's the DA. Dre the DA.
The DA. So let's dive in. Actually, before we do that, though, you have a live show coming up. Is that correct? Later today?
I do. Yes, with our good friend of the channel, Mr. Theme Park Wizard.
Awesome. So everybody, check out Theme Park Wizard at 4:30 Pacific time. This guy right here will be making an appearance and talking theme parks, all that good stuff. So check it out and support Mr. Wizard's channel. He is a really, really cool guy, friend of the channel. So let's go ahead without further ado and dive right into our first topic, which is Wondrous Journeys. Okay, so Wondrous Journeys. So Scott Gustin, who is a wealth of information on Diz Twitter. We absolutely love Scott. He says here, Wondrous Journeys at Disneyland celebrates 100 years of Walt Disney Animation Studios starting January 27th. And includes nods to every film by the studio, including Encanto, Hercules, Princess and the Frog, Peter Pan, Frozen, Treasure Planet, Big Hero 6, and more. Now, I got to say, I just about fell out of my seat when I saw Treasure Planet.
Yeah, that one, like, it stuck out to me right away because, of course, Hercules has been in some recent nighttime spectaculars lately. They incorporated Hercules within Harmonious for all the two people that really care. But right, yeah. But they even incorporated sometimes like in the fireworks show where you hear like the background music of Go the Distance and what have you. And then of course Encanto and Peter Pan and Princess and the Frog. And then of course with Big Hero 6, they're going to have to incorporate that because they have the Baymax that's going to fly out from the castle. But yeah, Treasure Planet, like my eyes just like honed in on that. And I thought that is when they said that they're actually going to incorporate almost every single animated film, they weren't kidding because you've never seen anything with Treasure Planet in the parks.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's interesting. That is very, very interesting. So they're going to include every film. I'm assuming every film except Song of the South. Little caveat there, a little exception, but so there'll be some sort of nod to all these films. Now I'm assuming that there will be like these big productions for various franchises, like the ones they mentioned here, like Frozen, for example, Peter Pan, for example. Those will probably get a lot of screen time. Like maybe it'll just focus on that particular IP for a couple of minutes on the castle and get a lot of screen time. But there will be probably a lot of other animated films that will literally just get a nod. It might just be like a little character flying by, or in the corner somewhere making a little cameo here and there. I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah.
I don't think every single Disney animated film is going to have like its own like solo
Segment.
time. Yeah,
Segment,
that's not.
yeah.
You'd be there for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just not possible. But there will be, I'm sure, a character making a cameo at least, or maybe even a piece of music in there represented from every single animated film. I'm blown away. And I got to go back to Treasure Planet one more time. I don't think we've ever seen a nighttime spectacular feature Treasure Planet. Ever.
No.
I mean, that's interesting. I'm very curious because that movie is visually breathtaking, and what they can do with that movie on the castle with projections and all that, I'm telling you, they could do, that's going to be pretty impressive, or at least it has the potential to be very impressive.
And I have to say, there are a string of Disney animated films that were, let's just say, less intriguing than others. Films such as like Home on the Range, Chicken Little. I wasn't too big of fans, but actually 2 films that I actually really enjoyed that I feel didn't get as much recognition that I think it should have was Treasure Planet and Atlantis, The Lost Empire.
Right. No, 100%. The Treasure Planet and Atlantis are really cool movies. They're really, really cool movies. Treasure Planet especially because they take that whole concept of Treasure Island and put it in outer space, but it's not just like, they're not like real spaceships. They're like actual like pirate ships.
Yeah.
Right. It's a really, really creative kind of bananas concept. And it really does kind of work actually. If that movie had like really, really good music or something, if they made it like, if they had catchy music, right? Like some of the Renaissance era, I think that movie would have been one of like a Renaissance era hit. I just think it lacked the music, and I just think it just never really caught fire because of that.
And I think it was during the time with Atlantis and Treasure Planet, it was during the time era, as you had mentioned, coming out of the Renaissance era and into computer generated imagery or CGI that we were getting from Pixar. And I think that was like the hype crazed animation that people were going through at that time. And I think if Treasure Planet or Atlantis would have been made today, obviously it would have been made in CGI, but if they would have tackled 2D animation, I think it may have had a stronger impact because people kind of already are used to computer animated films. I think it was like made at the time when it was computer animated was like at its peak.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned it a second ago, but Baymax, Scott Goosen here says he confirms it that Baymax will fly over Sleeping Beauty's castle with his full on armor. I think this looks pretty cool. I know we did a show recently. There were some pictures posted on Reddit, I believe, and we did all of us did a show recently, and the figure actually looks really, really good. It looks really, really sculpted and pretty much on model to what you see here. So I'm very curious how that's going to look, how they're going to incorporate that. I don't know. It could be fun. It could be a lot of fun.
Based on the photograph that we saw, we saw the back of Baymax, but it looked legit. It looked very decent. It didn't have like that cop out look to it.
Right. And yeah, it didn't look cheap, at least from, it was from far away, but from what I could see, it looked pretty good, pretty solid. Now, Disney released an official video about kind of like the behind the scenes of Wondrous Journeys. And they kind of showed us a little taste of some of the projection mapping that they're going to do on the castle. And I'll link the video down below. I can't play it on here, unfortunately, due to copyright issues and all that. But some of the projections they have planned for this show look absolutely breathtaking, especially the Sleeping Beauty one. Again, check it out yourself. Like still pictures don't do justice. When you see it, it looks really amazing. But this is the Peter Pan segment. And I really like how they kind of incorporated the castle where like the top half is like the night sky. And then you have Peter, Wendy, and everybody kind of flying over London. This looks really, really cool. This is a really great use of space on the castle, I think.
I was just going to say, and I think what's very different that they used with the computer mapping that they are not used to doing at previous firework and nighttime shows is they literally take the shape of the castle and silhouette it to an image where it would make sense in real time within the film. So
Right.
where you would see the entrance of the castleway, that is where the top of the rooftop is on the house. And as you had mentioned, the rest of the castle is the night sky with the stars. It's not just plastering an image onto the castle, but making the castle the image itself.
Right. No, a very, very clever use of space, especially on this one. The Sleeping Beauty one is just as fantastic. I'm excited for this show. I gotta say, I'm pretty excited. This is an interesting thing they're putting together here. I think it's fascinating when you watch the video. They kind of tie this into Disney Animation's legacy over the last 100 years, and being presented at the first theme park of the Walt Disney Company. It's sort of a interesting kind of statement they were making with that. I thought that was kind of cool. But my question to you, George, is this is focusing just on Disney Animation. We know why they're doing that. It's the IP, the normies, the casual fans. That's what they love. So that's what they're going to do. But do you like that concept of just kind of focusing on the history of Disney Animation and going through all these movies? Or would you have preferred an overall 100th anniversary show of the company where you have, stuff about Epcot in here and you have stuff about the studio and the parks and the cruises and really incorporate everything? Or do you like how they sort of are just focusing on animation?
If I had to pick and choose what I would want, because I'm a dedicated diehard Disney fanatic, I would want exactly what you had just brought up. I would want to see different aspects of the company throughout the whole the first 100 years that the company has produced, not just limited to just Disney Animation. Definitely heavily on Disney Animation, but I would have thrown in, as you had mentioned, maybe like the opening of Disneyland, the opening of Walt Disney World, especially since Walt Disney World's 50th didn't really get the hype and love that it should have. I would have thrown that nod in there. I would have even thrown in maybe the television, like with the True Life Adventure series,
Right.
or Zorro and Davy Crockett. Like I would have thrown everything in as much as you possibly can, and not even just big segments, but even just like little nods, sort of like if you ever watched the original intros to The Wonderful World of Disney, or Disneyland, the TV series where Walt, is introducing, your host, Walt Disney. Well, the intro would actually play music from the movies. It would play music from the television shows, and it would show snippets of the Disney animated movies, but it would also show the live action movies. It would show the television. It would show the theme parks. It was like a harmonious, if I will, collection of Disney moments, whether it was animated, live action, or in the parks. That's what I would have loved to have seen within the show, even if it was just for the intro.
Yeah.
Something just to pay homage to everything that the 100 years represents, not just the animation.
I think I would have preferred that as well. This isn't a bad concept at all, but I would have preferred that as well. I think you could have kind of split it up into maybe like 3 segments or something. You could have had the first segment could have been all about the feature films, animation, right? The second segment could be all about theme parks and cruises. And the third segment could be all about TV. So you can do like, Zorro, you can do the True Life Adventures, you can do the Disney Afternoon even, with have the DuckTales theme. Oh my God, the crowd will go absolutely apeshit. Can you imagine if they did that? I mean, that song is like incredible. That's the kind of stuff I would have liked to see, a little variety of everything Disney represents.
Well, even just the special nighttime event that they had with Disney Afternoon. People paid. I mean, I was one of them. I was so upset. I really should have bought myself a ticket for that event because I really wanted to do that. But when they had the special fireworks show where they played DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Goof Troop, hell, even Eye to Eye, the song from the Goofy movie.
Right.
Just every when you just when you just limit yourself to one type of tone, you're not giving the company its justice that you're actually celebrating 100 years, because the animated films only was a portion of that 100 years. What about all the other accomplishments that Walt has succeeded throughout his life and beyond? And I think everything needs a little bit of that love.
No, absolutely. And then you could have even ended that show with and now we want to welcome the newest members of our Disney family, and had like clips of Avatar and some Fox stuff in there,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would have been a really cool kind of celebration of all the studios of the Walt Disney Company, and, all the great stuff that they've kind of created and even acquired over the years, right? You could have some Marvel on there and Star Wars. I don't know. I think it would have been really, really cool. But, this is what they decided to go with, which is fine. This is not a bad concept. And look, the Treasure Planet thing alone kind of sold me. Like that, I was like, okay, that's different. That's unique. Because one of the big complaints I've had with Disney entertainment, nighttime entertainment, is they keep going back to the same well over and over again. How many times are we going to have Under the Sea? How many times are we going to have Let It Go? And, I Want to Be Like You. And right. It just, I See the Light. All these things are kind of played out. Great songs. I mean, legendary songs, but they use it in every show. So when I saw that they're doing something very different here with Treasure Planet and all these films, it got me a little more excited than I was even. I got a little more pumped for it. Like, okay, you got my attention.
And I think Disney more so generates to the majority audience that, unless you're a diehard Disney fan like us, there may not be as strong of appreciation or understanding to the True Life Adventure series or Zorro or Davy Crockett. For us, it is. But for that typical Disney typical family going to a Disney park or a Disney vacation, they'll only just understand the traditional IP. So I can understand where Disney was trying to go with it. I personally would just love to have seen more. But I'm going to make a prediction, and I might be wrong, but I have a feeling that Wondrous is going to be Disneyland's Happily Ever After. I don't know why.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong on that. You're probably not wrong on that. It'll probably be something very similar to that. Different movies, obviously,
right,
and all that, different music, but
the acceptance to the public, I think that's going to be Disneyland's Happily Ever After.
Oh, that's interesting. So you mean like not necessarily with the show style, but more about with the acceptance, like the reaction from fans.
Yes. Yeah. I think this. Yeah. Yep. It's my prediction, and I could be wrong, but I don't know. Based off of what they with the projection and the technology and the music and the storyline that they're taking, I'm gonna kind of put my money where my mouth is, and I'm gonna say that this is gonna be Disneyland's Happily Ever After as far as the popularity goes.
Well, that wouldn't be a bad thing, because Happily Ever After is a very beloved show. I mean, I've never seen it in person, but I've watched it on YouTube, and even on YouTube on such a limited platform, like on my phone or something, I get goosebumps watching that show. I mean, it's a very, very good show, very well choreographed, very well written, that's a beautiful show. Fans love it. So if Wondrous Journeys comes even close to that, that's a huge success.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's about time. Disneyland hasn't really had a new, really traditional kind of classic fireworks show. We had that Mickey's Mixed Magic, which is an okay show, actually. I think people hate it more than I do. I think it's kind of fun for the birthday, kind of a cute little thing, but it overstayed its welcome. And that was very much of a hip, kind of trendy thing. I am thirsty for this traditional kind of show, and I think this is going to give us that.
And I think Mickey's Mixed Magic suffered what Paint the Night did. And I just feel like that there's certain shows that belong better over at DCA
Yeah.
than at Disneyland. And I think Mickey's Mixed Magic is one of them. I think that would have been accepted a little bit more over at DCA if it was going to extend its welcome longer than what it has.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. So let's pivot now to our next topic. Now, this topic was your idea, George. So I'm going to let you take the stage. Give us an idea of what we're talking about here in terms of refurbs and what have you. And we'll discuss it.
Absolutely. So earlier today, I was having a phone conversation with our dear friend and brother, Mr. Vash Sky, and we got on the conversation that we were just talking about, just like with the recession and budget cuts and everything, and how that a lot of the attractions, especially in Disneyland ahead of Disney 100, are going down for refurbishments. And he was saying that, that may not be a bad thing. And I actually concur and I agree with him, where I feel like a lot of times that we're always expecting Disney to pop out a new ride or attraction every year or every other year, and then making an announcement for the next one. I think we just, as a Disney community, got so used to that when Disney started producing the D23 expos, because from 2009 on, that's usually when they would make the big announcements, and not just one announcement. They would do a slew full of announcements for like new and upcoming attractions, new cruise ships, new parks, what have you, new lands. And I think us as a community just got so used to that it's like one after the other, or layer on top of layer, that we have to get some sort of announcements, where sometimes if Disney was to just sit back and just fix the stuff that's already in the parks and enhance them and make them better, and for a new generation and what have you, sort of like, and we got on the subject of talking about Indiana Jones and like Radiator Springs Racers, where popular attractions, very popular. I love them both, but let's face it, they need work.
Right.
And, why create something new when you already have a beloved attraction that's sitting there? Give it some love, give it some TLC so it can stay longer, because we know that, God forbid, if they were to say Indy's going for good,
Oh God,
that'd be out with pitchforks and torches, so let's keep it going. But in order to do that, these attractions need heavy refurbishment downtime. And so if the budget isn't going to allow a new attraction or a new land or a new park, then let's put the funds that you do have into the existing attractions and make something work out of it.
No, exactly. Sometimes when you are handed a sack of lemons, you make lemonade, right? So if you don't have the capital to build new attractions because of the economy, whatever it is, we'll take what little money you do have and pour that into what you already have. So giving rides like Indiana Jones Adventure some love, right? Giving rides like Radiator Springs some love, maybe even Pirates and Haunted, and just these little kind of freshening up, kind of TLC kind of moves, they go a long way. And look, that really harkens back to what, like, Walt's kind of overall kind of mentality, his sort of overall kind of mindset with all this stuff. He always had one foot in the past and one foot in the future,
Mm-hmm.
So the future is important. We still got to get Disneyland Forward approved. We still got to expand both of these parks. Eventually, fans, I'm sorry, eventually we're going to need a third park. I mean, otherwise the parks cannibalize themselves. So all this stuff is really, really, really important to do. You want to have that foot in the future, but at the same time, you really want to nurture what's there that people really love, and give those things some TLC as well. So you nurture the past, and you also look towards the future, and it's a balancing act. It really is. You don't want to go too far in either direction. You don't want to be stuck in the past where the place becomes like a museum, but at the same time, you don't want to ignore the past, right? You also want to look forward, but you don't want to be too forward thinking where you're bulldozing things that people love, like Tiki Room, to replace it with the new hip thing. So it's definitely a balancing act. But right now, when there's not a lot of money to use, The company's looking to save money. Maybe building new attractions isn't where it's at. Maybe, like you said, George, just kind of refurbing and sprucing up and giving these current rides the TLC. And then after maybe a year or two of that, everything looks great. And then when the money is there again, okay, now we can look towards a new ride, right? A new attraction. So,
yeah, because there was a time where Disney did do that. I mean, aside from the Eisner and Wells era, where they created the Disney decade, where it was like just 10 years of just banging out new attractions, new ideas, and that's where Animal Kingdom came part for Walt Disney World. But like after that, and then before the expo started, there was like a time frame where Disney would here or there create an attraction. But it was basically a set of years where it was just whatever they had in the parks, that was it. And I think in the position that Disney is in right now, I think that's the best route to go. And then, as you had mentioned, it's just like a balancing act that afterwards, after they get all their bearings together, a lot of, try to get through the recession and kind of rebuilding money back up. And I think that would be the time that it would be best to, especially for Disneyland, as you had mentioned, Walt Disney World does not need a fifth gate. They need to just expand the 4 parks that they already have. Disneyland Park is even fine. It's okay. Aside from updating Tomorrowland and maybe expanding further on with Fantasyland, Disneyland is good to go. What they really need to focus on is a 3rd gate for Disneyland and expanding DCA. That's like the 2 major hits, like right with Disneyland Forward. But as I had mentioned before, the only way Disneyland Forward can go through is they have to get that Eastern Gateway project up and running. That's really the best way that we could say, once they get the green light for that, then they can move forward. However, I mean, aside from for the 3rd park goes, I still think that they have some logistics that they can expand DCA with or without the Gateway project or Disneyland Forward. So, and I think a good start of that is we're starting to see the transition from Pixar Pier to not Pixar, the Pixar Pier Hotel into not Pixar Pier Hotel, sorry, Paradise Pier Hotel into, what is it, the Pixar Play Hotel?
Yeah, Pixar Place.
Pixar Place. Okay. So that's already kind of starting to show, okay, so they're kind of retheming that hotel around possibly Pixar Pier, but then, you still have all that land surrounding it. So there is a possibility they could still do something with DCA, for which it really does need it.
Yeah, and I think Disney is going to pay very, very close attention, and I've said this before, to Epic Universe, because Epic Universe is not in Universal Orlando's backyard necessarily. It's a drive. I think Theme Park Wizard, he's our Universal expert. I think he said it's about a 15-minute drive from the current Universal Resort to Epic Universe. I think Disney's going to pay attention to that and see how that works for Universal, because they might have to utilize a similar approach when they build a 3rd park, a 3rd gate here in Anaheim. Obviously, there's not a lot of space in terms of like a whole gate. You can't really put it right next door to Disneyland or right next door to DCA. It's probably going to have to go in that Toy Story lot. The Toy Story lot's going to be a bus drive or a monorail trip or something. And I wouldn't be surprised if Disney's looking at how the logistics of how Epic Universe is handled over there in Orlando, and might apply that eventually when they build a 3rd park. And I do say eventually, because I do believe we will eventually get a 3rd park here. We have to, fandom. We have to. Mm-hmm. If you want to maintain what we currently have, you have to expand beyond what we have. Otherwise, the only way they can get more people in the gate is to build new things. And if you don't have any room in your parks, you have to bulldoze something. And I don't want to get to a point where we have to bulldoze Tiki Room to build a Moana ride, or we have to bulldoze some other beloved attraction for the new thing. I don't want to get to that point. So we have to expand, which is interesting. We have to do a video, George, with Vash, obviously, too, of the Anaheim political situation, because Anaheim does have a new mayor now. And they also have a new makeup on their city council. We haven't done a video on that since the election. Very, very curious, because that definitely does tie into Disneyland Forward, and
Yeah, it can very well, make or break, and I think what's actually kind of funny is we haven't heard nothing more about Disneyland Forward,
nothing.
especially because of like with the elections and everything and the people, going in and out of office and not really knowing which direction that they want to take the city. And unfortunately, Disneyland is in the position where whatever the city wants kind of goes, and Disney has to kind of go along with it, in the sense when you're expecting to expand beyond the land that you already originally had because of all the logistics and legalities and what have you. So it's very interesting to really see and hear what is to become of Disneyland Forward. Is it going to still stay the way that they intended it to, or are we going to get a different rendition for a different approach, depending on what the Anaheim city is willing to put up with? Because for the longest time, Disney and Anaheim is like water and fire. It's like
no, yeah, it is. It is. And that's why I'm really, really, really sympathetic towards what's going on in Florida right now with the Reedy Creek stuff. Like, Walt Disney World has a great thing going with that, obviously. And it's frustrating that they're gonna more red tape over there. Now it's not gonna be as bad as here in Anaheim for sure, but it's just another layer of political bullshit added to the equation.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. We're just starting to see a lot. Everything that we ever known of Disney, especially when it came to the parks, is once we cross through those gates, those turnstiles, that the entrance, if you will, all your worries goes away. You're encaptivated into the magic that Walt had always wanted for us, which we still get to this day. Yeah. But with the behind the scenes stuff, you get a lot of the political and core value system mixed in with it, and it's like it kind of taints the moment. It's like we don't want to think of Disney as our everyday life. It's supposed to be our escape.
No, 100%.
Apologize for not being the ally that you needed me to be.
It's okay, Chapek. It's okay.
Poor Chapes.
Absolutely. So it'll be very interesting. But this overall kind of thing, kind of like put a big bow on it, is like it's all about balance, and making lemonade when you get a sack of lemons. And right now might be the best time to kind of look, like you said, George, look at these attractions that really need the TLC and put the money towards that, because that's going to be cheaper than building something brand new, obviously. And that money could go a long way for an attraction like Indiana Jones or Radiator Springs Racers or any number of these attractions that really need the love.
It worked for the Fantasyland dark rides. It worked for Peter Pan. It worked for Alice in Wonderland. It worked for Snow White. I am very curious to see if they touch Mr. Toad and Pinocchio. Those two, I'm really curious. Not saying that they're on the chopping block. Well, I have heard rumors for a long time now, but I don't think, with the state of what the company's in right now, that they're willing to forego anything. But for a while now, I heard Pinocchio was on the chopping block.
Yeah.
No pun intended. Going in the wood chipper.
Yeah, exactly. No, I heard that too. I heard they're really looking at Pinocchio. It's a very, very dark attraction. It is pretty scary for little kids. And we saw what they did with Snow White. They made it less scary, right? Pinocchio is even scarier, in my opinion, than Snow White was. So I can see them having interest in addressing Pinocchio, whether that be completely removing Pinocchio with something different, like Tangled or something else, or just making it less scary. I don't know. That's a beautiful attraction though. I would hate to see them remove Pinocchio. I don't know. I keep it the way it is and just add really cool effects to it, like you did some of the other rides.
Yeah, because you really don't see really too much. For as classic of an attraction as classic of a movie as that is, you don't really get too much representation of Pinocchio in the park, let alone an attraction. Because we got nothing at Walt Disney World that involves Pinocchio in that manner. So yeah, I would definitely keep Pinocchio as the attraction, but as you said, just update it refresh it, make it new technology, maybe change some scenes, make it, update it. It's as far as Mr. Toads, don't touch Mr. Toads, because there's no other way around, you could even update it. So just leave it as is. There's nothing you could do.
It's a great attraction. Leave it,
Yeah.
So, but one attraction that really needs a refurb really, really bad is the Incredicoaster. That attraction, man, when they rethemed it, first of all, they did a half-ass job. The Jack Jacks on sticks looks terrible, but they didn't even repaint the attraction. Like, it was rusty, and they left it rusty.
The track needs heavy refurbishment because it is banged up as probably it's back since it opened. What was it in 2001 that DCA opened? Yeah. So I mean, you have to think. I mean, they've updated it since, but I mean, like as far as like kept up with the roller coaster, but I mean, as far as like giving it a full overlay, I thought we were going to get like these cool red and black tracks and like something. And it was like it was just left that god awful pure white, and it's seen better days.
My issue with that, and we're kind of going off the beaten path, but this is a fun topic though. My big problem with the Incredicoaster is that when they inserted Toy Story onto the pier initially with Midway Mania, it was very pier feeling, but the characters were sort of playing a role. So you had like, Mr. Potato Head as the barker, right? So it was like the Toy Story characters dressed up like on the pier on a Midway. It worked really well, really nice. My issue with the Incredicoaster and the Emotional Whirlwind is that they're very modern. Like, one of them is like a mid-century thing, the Incredicoaster, and the other one is like, I don't even know what, the Emotional Whirlwind. And it's just like, it's so jarring when you have that with like this kind of classic wooden roller coaster around. It just, none of it matches, right? I would have been fine if you made the Incredicoaster, but you just had it sort of like the same approach you did with Midway Mania. Maybe make it Mr. Incredible as a strong arm guy, right? Like a carnival strong arm guy, and that kind of theming, right? Like a Pleasure Island kind of style. Yes. And it's weird.
And me personally, and as you had mentioned, we're going off, the beaten path here. But what I would have done with Emotional Whirlwind is I wouldn't have done it as Inside Out. I would have actually incorporated it to be like Up. So I would have had the vehicles be like the house, and then the balls be the balloons.
That's cool.
And then that you could have had like Carl and Russell kind of being like how Carl is helping Russell with his new Wilderness Explorer badge by helping out on the Midway, so it's like, I think Up would have been more of a realistic approach than just throwing the Inside Out characters right there on the pier.
Yeah, Inside Out's a great franchise, and so is Up. Actually, I love Up, but Inside Out's a great franchise. It's a franchise you can easily make into a really, really cool dark ride. Which actually, and I know my Epcot fans are going to kill me for saying this, but actually, Inside Out, if done right, would actually be kind of a cool edutainment kind of IP to put into Epcot. I think if you're going to put IP in Epcot, I think Inside Out's the way to go. But we got to get going. We have a hard out, George. But
yes,
I want to thank you, brother, so much for coming on. Fascinating conversation. We're talking refurb, we're talking Disneyland Resort expansion. We're talking the new fireworks show, Wondrous Journeys for the Walt Disney Company's 100th anniversary. A really, really, really fun show. I want to thank you for coming on, brother. If you could let everybody home know where they can find you on social media and remind them of where you'll be tonight at 4:30 California time.
Absolutely. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Disney Family Man 23. You could also interact with me on Twitter at Disney George. You could check me out on the new podcast, A Walk with Walt. And you could also find me here, where else than on Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info. And another shout out to our producer, Dre, Dr. Dre, yes. Mr. Vashkai, host of Freshly Squeezed. Wish you were here, brother, part of the conversation, but you're here with us as always in spirit, and look forward to doing more shows with you as well. And as OG had mentioned, you could definitely check me out tonight on Theme Park Wizards channel at 4:30 Pacific time. We're going to be talking some Disney, some Universal, all that good stuff. And who knows what's going to be in store because we're going to be live. So we'll get to see.
See, and you're going live at 4:30. You got the Family Man right now on OG 55. And then you got the Family Man again at 4:30 on Wizards channel. That sounds like,
And there's the biggest bargain of all.
you're getting two Family Man showings in one day.
In one day.
Thank you all so much for watching. Comment down below with your thoughts on Wondrous Journey, the details on that with refurbs, compared to like new attractions, Disneyland Resort expansion, the third park. I know everybody has opinions on third park. Just everything that we talked about today, comment down below. We would love to hear from you. And as always, have a wonderful, wonderful day.